All right, let's talk about something that can literally make or break a company. It's people. Today, we're going to dive into how you can stop guessing and start strategizing when it comes to your workforce, transforming it from a question mark into your biggest advantage. Let's get into it.
First up, let's talk about a problem I'm sure many of you know all too well: the headcount headache. It's that sinking feeling you get when you realize huge decisions about your team, your most valuable asset, are being made based on a gut feeling or, even worse, an ancient spreadsheet.
So let me ask you this. How much does it really cost to get hiring wrong? Seriously, think about it for a second. It's not just the salary or the recruiting fee. No. It's the lost projects, the burned out teams trying to pick up the slack, the missed opportunities. That stuff adds up, and it adds up fast.
And here's the thing. These aren't just one-off problems. They're symptoms of a much bigger issue. You know, that mad dash to hire someone for a project that kicked off last week? Or that oh no moment when you realize your team isn't equipped for the company's next big move. That's what flying blind looks like. It's all reaction, zero strategy.
Okay, so that's the problem. But what's the solution? Well, that's where Headcount Analytics comes in. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like flipping a switch in a dark room. It's the promise of clarity. Suddenly, you can see everything, not just the team you have now, but the powerhouse team you could have.
So what is it really? Well, at its core, it's pretty simple. It's all about using data to make smarter choices about your people. But we're not just counting heads here. This goes way deeper. We're talking about understanding who you have, what they can do, and how much it costs, so you can line all of that up perfectly with where the business is going.
And before we go any further, we got to clear something up. People throw these terms around all the time. Headcount, FTE, contractor, like they're the same thing. They are not. Headcount, that's just a simple person count. FTE, that's all about workload. Super important for figuring out if you have enough people to do the work. And contractors, well, that's your flexible talent pool. Getting these definitions straight is absolutely the first step.
All right, so we know the terms, but that's just the beginning. The real magic, the real power, comes from the strategic advantage this gives you. Let's look at how this stops being about boring reports and starts becoming your secret weapon.
Think about it. When you really dig into the analytics, you can see exactly where your labor costs are going. You can stop guessing and start hiring for the skills you'll actually need 6 months from now. This is how you make sure your teams are perfectly aligned with your biggest business goals. You can even spot retention problems before your best people start walking out the door.
I love this quote because it just nails the change in mindset. It's the difference between being a passenger on a bus, just along for the ride, and being the one in the driver's seat holding the map. You're not just reacting anymore. You are actively, strategically shaping the future of your organization.
Okay, that all sounds great, right? But how do you actually do it? How do you put this into practice? Well, I want you to think about it like you're building a high-performance engine. You can't just throw parts together. You need a blueprint, the right components, and gauges to see how it's running. So, let's look at that blueprint.
It really breaks down into a super powerful 3-step approach. First up, segmentation. This is where you slice and dice your data by team, location, whatever, to uncover those hidden trends. Next, you forecast. You look at your history and your business goals to predict what you're going to need. And finally, the really cool part, modeling. You run what-if scenarios. What if we open a new office? What if attrition doubles? This gets you ready for pretty much anything.
And listen, you don't have to have a giant budget to get started on this. The tools of the trade really run the gamut. You can start with something you already have, like Excel for some basic analysis, or you can step it up with incredible visualization tools like Power BI. And of course, there are the big enterprise systems like SAP. The point is, there's an entry point for everyone.
Theory is one thing, but seeing it in action, that's where it really clicks. So let's look at a real-world case study. This is about a retailer who was facing a huge expansion, and they used these exact principles to pull it off.
So here's the situation. The challenge was massive. This retailer wanted to open 50 new stores in a single year. 50! That means hiring and training literally hundreds of new people, and fast. I mean, trying to do that on gut instinct, that's a recipe for absolute disaster.
So what was their first move? They visualized the problem. And this right here is a perfect example of why a simple chart can be so powerful. It showed them, in black and white, they needed 1,500 new hires. But their current recruiting pipeline, it was only going to produce about 400. That gap, that massive 1,100-person gap, made the problem impossible to ignore. It created the urgency they needed. So the big question, how do you close a gap that big? Well, they used predictive modeling. Remember steps 2 and 3 from our blueprint? That's exactly what they did. They used data to figure out which cities were the best places to hire. They even forecasted attrition. You know, how many people were likely to quit so they can hire more than they needed upfront. All of this let them build a smart, realistic hiring plan instead of just panicking.
And their result, it speaks for itself. They did it. All 50 stores open on schedule. They were fully staffed with trained people on day one. By trading guesswork for strategy, they literally avoided millions of dollars in lost revenue from delays. That is the power of this approach.
So if there is one single thing I want you to walk away with today, let it be this. This is not just about HR reports. This is a fundamental shift in thinking. Your workforce stops being an expense to be managed and becomes what it always should have been, your single greatest strategic asset.
So, I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. What is the one question about your workforce that if you could just answer it, would change everything for your business? Is it about having the right skills for the future? Is it about who your next leaders are? Whatever it is, finding that answer, well, that's your first step to building a truly unstoppable organization.